Hello everyone, this is Professor Weaver and I'm just going to give you some audio instructions on the teaching project and the community assessment. So I'm starting on the Start Here page of the community course. I'm going to scroll down to the assignment portion. So the critique of the public meeting is here and the shelter is here. I've already done the taping of those instructions. So I'm going to start here with the written assignment for the teaching plan. Now, before I do open that to go over it, let me go down further to show you something else. As I had mentioned before, we have developed case studies for you for which to base your teaching plan. Because of the online nature of this program and everyone being in different places, and yet this is a group project, it was just easier logistically to have you work off of a case study for this particular assignment. So I have a case study of a homeless man's shelter, of elderly women in a church, business executives, high school students, middle school students, and elementary students. So we were trying to capture a lot of different kinds of populations so that we hopefully will hit the interest of everyone. I'm going to just open the homeless man shelter case study. So it gives you a little story. It's an overview. You're a nurse at this health department. You provide screening and education services to an inner city shelter for homeless men. The shelter can accommodate 34 men, kind of the stuff that they offer. And then it says in the second paragraph, you've been asked to provide a health promotion, primary prevention, directed education for the men at the shelter. And so you read through that, and then I gave you some demographics of how many, their age, their racial background, their marital background, their military status, length of being homeless, income in general, that kind of stuff. Some identified medical conditions, some additional kinds of things, and then there's some links here like for blood pressure. Then there's, if you click on this, it'll take you to the American Heart Association's guidelines. Same thing with BMI. So anyways, read through all of those. And after your group digests that, I believe that's the end of that, yeah. After your group digests that information, if you would choose this particular case study, then you would say, okay, I'm looking at this and I think that diabetes is the most important thing, or I think that blood pressure is the most important thing, or whatever it is. And then that's how you identify the topic that your written and video portion of your teaching plan is going to be about. So let me go back to the case studies again. I'll show you one more. Let's go down to the high school kids. Okay, so again, you're a school nurse for an inner city school with this many elementary, junior, and high school students. What you're responsible for. During a board meeting, the members review the statistical data regarding targeted high school or high-risk behaviors for the first 3 months, and after discussion, they want you to do something. Okay, so then again, we gave you some demographic information that you can kind of mull over and decide what it is that you think you want to address. And then that's how you identify your topic. So anyways, I'm not going to open all of the case studies, but that's where you would find the case studies. And let me go back to then the content. Oops, not going back. There we go. Not changing. Here, I'm going to go over here. Assignments and templates. There we go. Okay. So now I'm going to open up the written teaching plan. Okay, so when you open up the written teaching plan part as well as the video part, you're going to see the beginning is very similar because I kind of put everything together. So students have to complete a health teaching project to be presented to a population or aggregate based on those case studies. Major emphasis should be on devising a teaching plan that addresses an area of health promotion or primary prevention, must address an issue that relates to the health of a community or its members. You have to work in a group of 3 to 4 people. But with that being said, only one student should be assigned by the group to turn in the written document to the Dropbox. Don't have multiple students turning in the written portion. However, I did add a component to the written all of the group projects where I made up a self-evaluation portion as well as a peer evaluation. And so every member of the group will have a Dropbox for the written teaching plan and for the video teaching plan. Only one student is going to put the written teaching plan or the videos in it, but everybody's going to put the peer evaluation in their own individual Dropbox, and you'll understand why as I go through this. So the contents for the Dropbox for part 1 is the completed template. A teaching plan that's not submitted on the template will not be accepted. The only thing I will say is when we get to the content column of the template, if you want to write in a narrative form following the template, that's okay, because I know that that information could be doesn't fit very well into the content to a little column. So you'll see that as I go down here as well. Any supplemental materials such as pre and post tests or games or posters have to be turned in so that I know what it is that you're doing. Okay, sorry, I had to pause you for a moment. Okay, so that is part 1. Part 2, which again I have separate directions, but this beginning part just to kind of tell you in advance what you're going to be doing. So you're going to be videotaping your directions to a fake audience. Remember, we're doing this based on a case study, so these people don't really exist. If you happen to live in the same vicinity of your other classmates and you're able to get together to be each other's audience, that's great. If you can't, because I know that people live a lot of different places, even different states in this program, you can just do separate videos. If you have someone who is good at being able to splice, I guess it would be, the videos together, that would be great. But if you have to do separate videos for everyone, that's okay too. All I ask is that you show some connection or transition. So like the first person's talking and they say, okay, so now my next classmate or whoever is going to talk about something else, and then you go to the next video so that it looks like it's all connected. The total time for the video should not exceed 30 minutes in length for all of the videos together. And then also there is a self-evaluation component to the video portion you'll see when I go over that. All right. So the teaching plan must be based on one of the scenarios. You identify the need, choose a topic, and then establish an appropriate teaching plan that will address all these things. And let's see. Additionally, you need to you would want to optimize your attendance if you were really doing this session. So at the beginning part, I ask you how you would kind of advertise or market or get the word out essentially of this education that's coming up for people to take advantage of. And then again, this collaboration of group members, which I kind of already addressed. All right, so when you do the video portion, one thing I will say, I'm going to have you do it and post it onto YouTube, but you need to mark it as unlisted. If you mark it as private, only you will be able to see it. If you mark it as public, everybody in the world will be able to see it. So if you mark it as unlisted and then provide me with the link, then that's all that you need to do for the video. That's the easiest. There's a few other ways to do it, but that's kind of the easiest thing I've found that has worked for students. Okay, so the teaching project includes the pre-submitted teaching plan, the written portion, as well as the video. In total, 100 points. The written part is worth 60 points, and the video part is worth 40 points. And then I make you do the detailed teaching plan prior to the video so that if there's anything that seems to need corrected, you have the opportunity to do it before you do the video presentation. And again, I have this information about only one person putting the written teaching plan into a Dropbox. However, everybody will do that peer feedback table. And then once I correct the written teaching plan, you'll see in the Dropbox I can attach to everybody's Dropbox the feedback on the written teaching plan, even if you weren't the one that put the written teaching plan in the Dropbox. So I won't go over this video part because we're going to do that when I go to that. All right. So this is the written teaching plan, and it looks like a care plan. You put your student names, and there's just a blank there for the total score. Let me see here if I can bring this up. There we go. So you can see we have a column here for the topic. Well, actually, before we get to that, in this first part, you're going to describe the site where you're going to do the presentation and what your advertising or communication plan was to let people know that this teaching opportunity is coming up. And then you identify the topic, and here you're going to describe the target audience, what you think the knowledge deficit is, and what the rationale for why you chose your topic, essentially. And then your objectives. These are objectives that you're hoping the audience to accomplish. So it's not what you're accomplishing. You're going to list things that are expected outcomes from the audience. So, for example, I think I gave an example. By the end of the presentation, the audience will be able to identify the risk factors for heart disease by the end of the education session. Is like an example of one objective. And the content outline, this is the part that I talked about, that if you want to do it in a separate narrative below, just say see below, and then you can write that out after the template. And so you would give me an outline of what it is that you're going to talk about. The learning development activities list the appropriate teaching strategies that you're going to use, whether you're going to do a lecture or handouts, do you have brochures, that kind of thing. I gave you some examples. And then your evaluation is, how do you know whether you were effective? So maybe you did a pre and post test, or maybe you had people fill out a survey, something like that. So that's just an example. So that's the written part. I did give you some additional resources here. Oh, let me see. Hang on. This is I got to fix this. Sorry. It must have oh, no, that's right. Okay. So the peer evaluation for the written part. What I'm going to have you do is fill out every person in your group, and there should be no more than 4. And then you're going to go up here and you're going to rate them, that they all equally contributed to the assignment and without excessive prompting, that you had to really work hard to get a hold of them, that they did a fair amount, or that they contributed minimally, or that they didn't contribute at all. And you give them just a ranking here. And then write some comments to justify why you gave the ranking that you did. The reason that I did this is I do the planning discussion board to try to show to me that everybody is contributing to the assignments, but I still have students complaining to me that they feel somebody didn't do their part. So this will give you an opportunity to communicate that information. And I will tell you, if somebody consistently gets a 1 or 0 or maybe even a 2 rating from all other members of the group, that's going to signify to me that that person maybe deserves to have a different grade than everyone else. So this is the rubric for how I correct the teaching plan. So there's the information, the site visit, which is worth 5 points, the topic, the objectives, the outline, the learning activities, the self-evaluation. I need to fix this. There is actually not a self-evaluation for the written part. I will take that out and fix it. There'll just be a peer evaluation. I believe what was supposed to be here is APA and stuff. So I'll fix it. I'm sorry. All right, and your name. And then the other resource I gave you, these are action verbs. So whenever you're describing your objectives, you would want to keep these kinds of verbs in mind and use them to start your objectives. So that's the directions on doing the written teaching plan, and I'll fix that rubric at the end so you'll be able to see it, and you'll be able to print this out and use it as a reference. I'm going to end here and go to the video portion and do a separate taping. Thank you.